In Myrtle Beach, you always go at your own pace. Lie out on the sand, lie out by the pool, go boogie boarding, go surfing, walk the boardwalk, walk the marsh walk, golf at one of 90 golf courses, mini golf at one of 50 mini golf courses, fish off a pier, fish from a chartered boat, go shopping, get drinks, eat the freshest seafood. The list is exhaustive, but the experience isn't. You can go all out or do nothing at all. How you relax is up to you. There is so much to do and explore, whether you're traveling with friends, family, or just yourself. With 60 miles of beach, you're going to find your place. If this sounds like what you need, then this is where you belong.
Hey, do y'all like fishing for prizes? Maybe a trip to Costa Rica or a once-in-a-lifetime African safari? Well, the Grand Strand Fishing Rodeo is back. Thanks to the hard work of Visit Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and Trilogy Outdoors Media, this once popular event is back and it's bigger and better than ever. This event is comprised of 12 monthly competitions that culminate in November with our annual banquet and expo, the celebration of fishing on the Grand Strand. New to this event is the freshwater division that will help include all of our anglers that live and visit the Grand Strand throughout the year. Monthly species winners will receive great prize packages from Bass Pro Shop and Surf Signs and Designs. But most importantly, they will receive an invite for them and a guest to our annual banquet and an entry in the grand prize drawing. So whether you fish the rivers, a pond, the pier, the surf, or a boat, you have a chance to win the grand prizes. To get signed up or for additional information, visit TrilogyOutdoorsMedia.com and click on event. Also, you can visit any of our weigh stations and registration stations to get signed up as well. Best of luck to everyone, and we'll see you at the scale. Trilogy Outdoors. All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of Trilogy Outdoors, and this is episode 52, Senator.
Yeah, 1 year in the making.
1 year in the making, and I was looking back at the calendar, and it doesn't add up to 52 weeks, and I don't know where that comes from, but I guess it's because originally we were doing 2 and sometimes 3 a week.
There was
because
also
of your schedule.
There was also a week that we were both sick, either with COVID or something.
Yep.
And we were both sick and weren't able to record 1 week, and we ended up doubling up on another week, and it got weird a couple weeks with all the sickness, but. Yeah, we've been pretty consistent, putting out at least one a year.
Oh, we've been
one a week.
Yeah, let's do better than one a year.
Yeah, one a week.
Well, we have been consistent. Have you been consistent with your healthy sale?
I have actually took it this morning.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I took mine this morning too. It's kind of like my morning ritual now with my coffee, and I can tell you this much, and I'll show you. It's proof.
He is unfortunately unbuckling his belt right now.
That is my old loop.
Yeah.
There's the hook I'm using right now.
He's showing a new
and
loop.
I'm using a new hole.
Thank goodness he's buckling.
In my belt. I'm putting my belt back. I'm putting my belt back on.
Thank goodness.
But apparently it's working. I don't know. Maybe last week on my trip to Florida and going to Carnival affair 2 nights in a row, and of course you know what that means. You're going to eat elephant ears. Let's see. We had plenty of cotton candy. We had
fried Snickers.
Man. So we avoided the fried Snickers and the fried Oreo.
Yeah.
But it does look good. It does look really good.
Yeah, I bet it is.
I just got so last week I took a trip, went down south with Lucas Williams, Double Diamond Outfitters and Ranch down in Florida. Lucas, Team Long Run, been on the podcast with us and a very loyal listener who can answer more questions about the podcast than I can. But we went down with the families to go enjoy a rodeo.
Yeah.
Have you been to a rodeo?
I have. A lot of fun.
I know I'm behind the times on a lot of stuff, but that was my first rodeo. And
literally.
I don't know who, it was literally. And Kim loved putting that up, that it was, yes, my first rodeo. But I'll tell you, that rodeo life has got to be tough on those cowboys. But to be there and to watch these kids, and I'm saying kids because
they are kids.
They are kids.
Yeah.
Riding these bulls, riding these bronco bucks. I mean, the young women, what do they call it now? They call it release. They don't, because they don't have to get off and wrestle
the steer. That all they do is lasso them, and then it pops off the horse. Where the guys have to jump off the horse and go, you know, they're incredibly talented.
Yeah, I mean that's what you. I guess that's what you do. I mean, there are some places even here that do it, but I mean, if you live in a place that's horse country, I guess that's what you do, right? You learn to rodeo and ride, and you know, I said this the other day. There's an expectation if you live in Murrells Inlet or Georgetown or Charleston or Beaufort. I think there's an expectation that you know how to drive a boat by the time you're about 10. Right. And do it fairly well as you age. It's probably the same way in Cheyenne, Wyoming. There's an expectation you know how to ride a horse and ride it pretty darn good by the time you're 10. And what else do you do with a horse than to rodeo?
Well, and there were a lot of young. I did get a picture of the kids with number 2, number 8, number 12, or number 2, number 6, and number 12 in the world in competitive bull riding. And 2 of them, I think it was number 2 and number 12 in the world, grew up together. They're 21 years old, and they have been riding and competing and traveling together ever since. And the one, Colton, I can't remember his last name, Colton Best maybe, finished second in the rodeo there. Cowtown Rodeo at Okeechobee was the name of the rodeo we were at. Mm-hmm. He finished second, rode a complete ride, but I guess some complete rides aren't, they score it as well.
Yeah,
and he only got
scoring.
75, and I think 80 was what won.
He's got to throw that hand back and
got to throw the hand back.
Yeah. You got to make it classy.
Yeah, and there were some people that really had that part down. They just unfortunately didn't stay on the bull too long. But we missed the first night. The first night, the first rider on bull came out and got trampled on and horned, gored. It didn't pierce him, but he got gored by that bull and was drug off to an ambulance and taken to the hospital, where he was reported to be in great shape and doing fine. But their insurance policies have to be pretty expensive to have any insurance on them. We did enjoy it. I got down really close. I got right behind. I don't know if I sent you the video. I got right behind the gate while one of the riders was loading up, literally looking down. I could have reached over and touched the bull. And when that thing kicked off, he kicked mud 10 rows up in the stands on all of us.
Yeah.
And it was great. But man, it was a really good time. And I can't believe that there was a rodeo here this weekend. As soon as we got back, there was a rodeo in Conway. And I have just never had the opportunity to go to a rodeo until I went down there. So It was a great time. And, of course, you've been down to Okeechobee. You've been to the beautiful plantation down there at Double Diamond. Mm-hmm. And, Lucas had said that he was going to set up to go out and possibly – I never even got my tags. I didn't go turkey hunting. Never even got my license because I was invited to go on a hog roundup. And – at first, I was invited on a hog hunt, I was told. And I'm thinking, okay, great. I got the new Trilogy AR. I'll take it out there, and I'll help dispatch some hogs. Well, no, these young men, and I say young because the 4 young men were 10, 15, 16, and 17 that were at the front of all of this. And I say it was them and 4 cur dogs, cattle dogs, not bulldogs, not to be confused with that.
Yeah.
4 cur dogs, and they were running these hogs out of these incredibly thick palm, I don't know, what do you call it down there? Hammocks, palm hammocks. Yeah. And I sent a drone video, one of the drone videos to you and Lucas, so you could see that hog, how far he was in front of the dogs, and they closed on him quick.
Yeah.
But these kids were getting on top of these hogs, tying them up, and throwing them in the back of the truck to sell.
Right.
It's legal.
Yeah.
Nothing illegal to sell.
It used to be legal here. We just closed that loophole a couple of years ago in the state Senate or in the state house.
Now,
but you used to be able to sell them here.
In South Carolina, if you hunt hogs, you have to have a license, right?
That's a good question because I feel like we changed that too. You used to have to for sure.
Right.
I think nowadays you don't have to have a license to hunt a hog or a coyote. And I hate that I don't know the answer to that. I probably should, but I don't.
By the way, I'm not wearing these for any particular reason. I don't know why in the world I have my sunglasses on, but I'm sitting indoors. I'm sitting here going, why are you so dark?
Well, you look cool.
Yeah, right. I
You
know.
look cool. Yeah, I should know the answer to that, English.
You
but
should know.
I don't think we do because we see hogs as a nuisance like everybody else should. But
Florida
you
is
should
no
check,
license.
You should check on that if
Yeah,
you're listening.
we'll check on that. You're not. Yeah, we're not
Pretty
holding you to
sure
it.
you don't have to. Now, don't. I mean, there are lots of caveats and asterisks to that. If you're sitting in a deer stand during deer season, you can't say you're hog hunting and you don't have to have a license.
Right.
Right.
I see where you're going.
But if you're, if it's in the middle of the summer and you're sitting in a stand, may be different. That's probably where DNR comes down. Is how do you know whether or not
Where's Steve Senior when we need him? He could have been looking it up real quick.
Yeah.
But I'll say I was told that we didn't have to have a license, blah blah blah, hog hunting. They want all the hogs killed down there. They are terrible. And for people that watch the video I shared on Facebook and the new video I have coming, that say, "Oh my God, those hogs were so treated inhumanely." I mean, they were treated great. They were alive when those boys delivered them.
Yeah.
But
the catching part is not always the nicest. But once you're done with the catching
oh
part,
yeah.
I've caught a few myself, and it's a fairly it's a violent act.
They are loud.
And I think that's what makes it a violent act.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like you're absolutely murdering somebody.
Right.
When you're catching them, there's just it's chaos, right? Loud, ridiculous, violent chaos, and I don't think the pigs are really compared to what they're living like on a normal basis, I don't think they're in any particular distress more than usual. But God, they make the worst, awful noise you've ever heard.
Well, I'm going to say, so there were a couple of the pigs that we loaded in the back of the truck, and they had a little bit of blood coming out from their behinds, and that is from the lead dog. Yeah, his tendency is to bite their butt, obviously.
Yeah.
But the real place where they have to grab onto is the ears.
Yeah.
And we did have one that had half a ear, which they said, is like a no-no. And honestly, whoever caught it the last time should have never put it back. And because it's so dangerous for the dogs, not having somewhere to grab them. And that's where they're trained to grab.
Right.
I learned a lot. I'm telling you, we got to get Robert on. You've met Robert, the cowboy out there that runs the ranch. And we've got to get him on because, their explanation with why they have to do this. And Robert they cleared out 43 the week before we were there off of the small property. 43 off of that one where you and I hunted the first day, that place where we hunted the first day.
Right.
They cleared 43 off of there, and he said they could they could go out there every day and do what we were doing, and they would never run out of hogs at the other place. But they have torn it up out there.
Very effective way of doing it, right? I mean, you can kill them in a tree stand one after another. You'll never make a dent in them.
Now, they would not give me the name of where these hogs were going, but I will tell you this much, that you can book a hunt with these people, and they do a meat or a trophy hunt, and you pay a fee based on which hog you want to kill.
Yeah.
And if you can picture a big, 40-acre penned-in, fenced-in area with a little 3-acre fence off to the side where they feed and grow these hogs, then they figure out Hunter A gets in the stand, and he had said that he wants to do a meat hunt. Well, they go over and they find one of the 100-pounders, 120-pounders, and they send him loose, and you sit in the stand and wait till he comes by and shoot him, and you kill your hog. And then if you do a trophy, you get one of the big ones. And these kids, for them, $20 a hog, they made $800 or $160 because we called 8. They made $160 for it was spring break for them. They were out.
It's fun.
Oh, they had a blast, and they are so excited. They're all big on TikTok, of course. Keegan Pierce, who was, I call him the head, the head hog wrestler that day, is also an incredible bull rider, and he's Robert's grandson. He had just, on Saturday, he won the high school state bull riding championship. He was the only person to make a complete 8-second ride on a bull. and he probably is our height, maybe a little shorter, and just solid, built solid like you. But not, I mean, actually, he's just, I mean, he's solid. He really doesn't look any bigger than me, but he's all muscle. And he's incredible. I started following him on Facebook and on Instagram and watching some of his videos, and he beats the best bull riders out there. He competes with them. They do, weekend rodeos and stuff around Florida and everything else. But, man, to watch those guys work, and it was just awesome. And then Lucas took my phone. He goes, go live. I'm going to go run with them. So he started running, and you've got to go watch it again on my Facebook page and watch how quickly Lucas said, you hear it, all you hear in the background is, and he's like, I give up, and he just let them go. He said he couldn't keep up with them, and so, I mean, it's quite a workout, but we had a great time, and I'm going to get a video up and share it on Trilogy of the whole morning. It was basically, we started at first light and ran the dogs for about 4 or 5 hours. And when I say we ran them for 4 or 5 hours, they didn't stop. I mean, literally, until he tied the dogs down, they just wanted to keep going after hogs. But it was a great trip down there. And I got to go bass fishing again on Okeechobee. And still, I have not made it into the lake. The wind was terrible. So Captain Eddie took us back to the drainage area around Lake Okeechobee, and had Russ with me and Lucas, and we had caught 10 bass, real nice sized ones, in a 3-hour trip, and had a good time. We had a great time and got good video of that. Russ got to catch a couple real big bass. I know one's definitely his personal best, but overall it was a great trip. The carnival was fun. The county fair. I'm just going to say that Lucas and I got in the first ride that we were going to ride, which was just a swing set thing that slings you around.
Yeah.
And we both went to get in 2 swings side beside each other. And I sat down in mine, and he sat in his, and we looked into one in front of us, and there was a pair of vice grips and a screw. And then we looked on the ground under us, and there was 2 cotter pins. And I cannot tell you how quick both of us got out of that seat. We jumped out and we walked over and told Kristen and Kim, like, we're not riding that ride.
Yeah.
And it honestly, there was several rides that were closed down for repairs while we were there. And, while it was fun, it's hard to get on those rides when you factor in, you
think they're going to fall apart underneath you.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, it was scary. But, man, we got to go watch the 4-H. 4-H club was big when I was in school. Probably in Conway, did y'all have it?
I'm pretty sure we did, but I don't think it was very big. It's bigger now. I mean, at least I see it at the State House.
I figured you saw it at the State House because, agriculture is huge in South Carolina.
Yeah, seems to me like it's bigger now than it was. No, maybe not back in
in the late 80s when I was in school.
Maybe not 40, 50, 60 years ago as big as it was then, because everybody was still attached in some way to farming 50, 60, 70 years ago.
Yep.
But yeah, it seems like there's a reemergence. I see a 4-H, or what's the other one? There's one, Future Farmers of America, FFA.
FFA.
Yeah. I see 4-H or FFA from almost every county nowadays come to the State House, and they've got pretty big groups of kids.
Well, that 4-H the program down there. So for the part of the state fair is a judging where basically these kids pick an animal or pick a livestock, whether it's pigs, cattle, and it might be ponies, and they get these at a very young age, like really at birth, a little bit after birth, and they have 8 months to raise them, and then they have to get them to a certain weight and everything else, and it was really interesting to learn about that. They actually they get money from sponsors to raise them and feed them and spend the time with them, and then they show them. They have to go out there and show them, and then they go up for auction right after it. And the hogs, which are all 230 pounds or higher to qualify, are sold and then slaughtered.
Yeah.
So a funny story we heard. The rule is this. Their rule is that the hog has to go to the slaughterhouse.
Okay.
or it has to go. Yeah, it has to go to a slaughterhouse. So this one farmer, his child had gotten really connected with the hog.
Yeah.
Now the hog, they said the hogs will sell for somewhere between 1,000 and 1,200 at auction,
Okay.
and the kids get that money. And so this farmer bought it under the pretenses that he was going to be able to keep it. Well, he bought it and then was informed that no, you're not going to get to keep it. You have to take it to the slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
So he then went to the slaughterhouse and paid two guys at the slaughterhouse to pull it out that night that it came in for slaughter. And he pulled it out, $2,000. It cost him $3,000 to buy that hog for his daughter, to bring that hog home.
Oh, man.
And so I looked around and saw my kids running up to him. I'm like, there's no way that Kinsley would raise this thing, take care of it, and then sell it to become bacon, and knowingly let it become bacon. But it was
I don't know. Bacon's pretty good.
bacon is pretty good, and some of these hogs looked incredible. And I would have thought you wanted them to be bigger, but no, these hogs, I mean, their rear ends were just, I mean, those hams were just perfect.
These are pink pigs?
Some of them. And they were actually a couple that had a real cool black and then a white circle around the center here. But it was great. It was eye-opening. The kids loved it. I'm glad we went down there. They got to experience something really cool, and I felt less, how do you say it? I felt not quite as bad that they missed a week of school, because they did get a lot of education down there. We had a good time.
You know, you can purge wild pigs, and, you know, it's like the way y'all caught them,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Put them in a pen, and you can purge them the same way. You fatten them up, you feed them all your table scraps, you deworm them, you know, and eventually, I think somebody near close to, I think Hayes actually did it. My cousin
Really?
caught a bunch of them out at his farm, and they pinned them up, and I'm trying to remember how long they kept them, but it was 6 or 8 months. They fed them watermelon, you know, as the watermelons rotted in the fields, they fed them watermelons. They dewormed them. And I think after 6 or 8 months, they had all put on 100 pounds or something crazy. And
So they raised them to eat them.
yeah.
Okay.
And then killed them one by one. And they were super good. They were super good. I mean, compared to a wild one that's eating roots and acorns, you know, you feed it watermelon and corn, and it's going to clean up its diet. It's going to clean up its meat. And yeah, you can change their meat in just a matter of months. It's amazing. I mean, you ever seen, you know, like a wild pig can go to domestic, like in blink of an
Really?
eye, and a domestic pig can go wild in like the blink of an eye, right? I mean, within just months, they're growing hair. A domestic pig that gets loose, they're growing hair, and they're getting a long tail on them, and it's just like all of a sudden it's becoming a different animal. It's pretty incredible.
So the longer tail is one thing, and it seemed to me the snout's a lot longer, right, on the wild boars.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
They're longer. And then they were showing me like a couple of these that we call. They must have all been young, been pretty young, but they were showing me where the tusk is, or the fang that they grow, and one had a decent one starting to grow. The others were real short, but they were saying that is what will get you.
Oh yeah.
It'll rip a dog wide open. And
I've got a few skulls around here. The big one that Tripp killed, his skull's upstairs. I'll show it to you before.
last year, that big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing was a monster. How big was he?
I mean, I would just guess. We didn't weigh him or anything. I'd guess he's 275,
Yep.
something like that, 280.
Yeah, Kelly killed one 250.
Yeah.
She killed one 250 last week or a week before. So are you covered up with hogs out there, or are you?
They come and go. It's sort of weird. Like my neighbor to my north has got the big group of them, which is 30 or 40 pigs, and they're making a circuit. And every now and then, about every 3 or 4 weeks, they'll show up on my property and make a little circuit through. But I keep the big boars. Like I don't have all the sows. You know, I keep the big boars, and the big boars will come to corn all by themselves. You know, and they'll eat every night and they'll leave. But the big group of sows, they just, you know, and younglings, they make this big circuit, and you only see them every 3, 4, 5 weeks.
So you know your neighbor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure that's important because now, I mean, to eradicate, and that how am I saying that correct? To completely eradicate and get rid of them, I heard it's nearly impossible.
Yeah, I don't think you can do it. Now, I mean, there's lots of people, they're buying these Jaeger traps and automatic Jaeger traps, and you catch the sounder and all that. But, I mean, honestly, the next group that makes a circuit, there's a group living within a half a mile of the next group, right?
Yep.
And they're eventually going to make a circuit, and they're going to say, "Oh yeah, this is good. This is good fertile ground over here. There's nobody else competing for this ground." And then all of a sudden, they're going to be there again. So
I'll tell you, it was you talked about that trap. I'm guessing it's the same one that Jason Britt uses. It's a mesh. It looks like, and it retracts up, and then when you get them in there, it sets off sets something off, and then closes down on them.
Yeah, there's a couple different variations of it, but yeah, I mean, there's one that's actually like cow paneling, metal cow paneling.
Yep.
6 feet tall, and it's got a trap door on it. But I mean, basically, it's I don't know how many. 100.
It's pretty big, right?
100 square feet, 200 square feet. I mean, pretty big, where you can get the whole group in. And when you get the whole group in, you can watch it on your camera.
And you close the door.
You can watch it on your iPhone, and you close the door, and it closes. So that's one variation of it. The other variation is the one you're talking about, where it's raised up, and when you all get them in, the whole trap falls down and catches them. Yeah, so there's a couple different variations to try to catch the sounder. And I do think that's probably the most effective way of getting rid of them quick. But eventually, 6 weeks later, you're going to have another group. You're going to see 2, and then you're going to see about 6 weeks later, you're going to see 10.
Dude, they're quick.
And then about 6 weeks later, they're going to be up to 20 or 30 again, and it's you got to do it all over again.
They're like the mahi of the woods.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They reproduce a lot.
It's crazy how fast they.
I know we had hoped that we would have maybe Jim Shockey on for the 52nd episode.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen, but you did text with Jim, and let's talk about that. He's got a book coming out.
Well, he would have come on, but he's got a new book out, and I don't know if I can reveal the title or not. Anyway, he's got a new book coming out, and there's an advanced reader copy that is going to be out in April or early May, and he wants to get me an advanced reader copy. I'm going to read it, and then we're going to have him on, interview him about the book. He's going to have an audio book out too. I think
Perfect.
Yeah, I know exactly. I'm pretty excited about it. Jim's a super cool guy and down to earth, and hunted all over the world. If you don't know who he is, just Google.
Go back to episode 1.
Go back to episode 1. But super cool guy, and I'm looking forward to getting his book and reading it, and we'll talk about it. I don't know, April, May.
The audio book sounds enticing because typically I listen to podcasts while I'm delivering the magazine, so that'll be a perfect for my delivery days to listen to that, because I've gotten into shock therapy ever since we interviewed him, and I learned about that new show.
Yeah.
I love watching it because I just love to see the people, the people he brings on are basically people that are involved in his personal life, and albeit camera guys that have been with him since day one, albeit son-in-laws, and such, big sponsors that have been with him since day one.
Yeah.
I loved it. I learned a lot about the guns that he represents.
TC's?
Huh?
TC's, Thompson Centers?
Nope, the other company. He actually does Thompson Center, and it's a custom rifle. Something, oh gosh, I'm having a brain fart. He had the owner on there, and man, do they have some beautiful guns. And the prices are not as high as I thought they were going to be. And I'll figure that out. And I'm having a complete brain fart on this because the guns were beautiful. And I talked to Jared Floyd, who he has one of them. Doggone it. But anyway, I really like watching it. And I like how he's put some of his guys in scenarios where he sets up a video hunt, and you get to pull the gun up and look at it, and you make the call whether you'd shoot it or not. And then he tells the story about that kill, whether the hunter shot it or not, because a lot of people don't know Jim started with guiding. Yeah. That's what he started with, guiding.
Yeah, he was a moose guide and a bear guide. Yeah. Yeah, and I think when you, I don't know, I don't want to disparage any of the other TV guys, but if you start out on the bottom rung, if you start out as a guide and your success eventually dictates your success in the field, and with your clients eventually dictates your success on TV.
Right.
Then I think it's genuine, right? Comes across as genuine, comes across as experienced. There are some people that try to go the other way, right?
Yep.
The wrong path. Their TV personality guides their success, rather than their success in the field guiding their success.
You've nailed quite a few, and I will not mention by name, but I will mention the other side of it by name, and that is the Mark Davises, the George Poveromos, who, I mean, George and I started texting a bunch just with some fishing questions and such. But George is one of those that I mean, when he's sharing, in his television show, it's his passion, and he genuinely cares about the techniques he's using and sharing it with the audience. And he's used it before. He's not just going off a guide who he's with and just saying, hey, this is how they do it, let them tell you.
Yeah.
And Mark's the same way. Mark's been doing it for however long. I think he just did his 200th episode or something, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're only doing 13 a year, that is quite a few years. But when it comes to Jim Shockey, he's just genuine. He's real. I mean, when you watch him on television, he's who you get on person. He's who we interviewed on the radio. I mean, on the podcast, and you get what you get him. My phone's going crazy over here. Look at this. Sorry, it doesn't recognize my face. I'm trying to get it to turn on. It doesn't recognize my face with my microphone on, but it is this time of the year.
Go ahead, play it.
I'm trying. Why is it not playing?
I knew that's what you were trying to get to. I knew you were trying to get to that.
Oh, I know you're getting excited. You know how I know you're getting excited? I know you're getting excited because you were putting stuff in your truck when I pulled up.
Yeah, I'm actually going to see if Jim's going to be down here for his fundraiser. I'm going to see if he wants to turkey hunt one day. Him or Eva want to turkey hunt one day, and I'm getting super excited. It's March when we're recording this, March 20th.
20th.
And we open March 22nd. Almost all the state, or most of the state, opens March 22nd. Us on the coast, March 22nd. And
is that a private land only, or is that?
Yeah, April 1
is
WMAs. At least most.
That's right.
That I can think of. So I've been watching them on my property. We were out there working yesterday. I had Renee work in the field yesterday, disking, getting ready. Yeah, turkey tracks all over the place. We're going to be putting, speaking of pigs, we're going to be putting a lot of chufa down on this new farm, and for turkey management. But the pigs will hurt you on chufa. Once they find it, it's it's game on, right? They love those tubers in the ground, and if you're not managing for turkeys, if you're a turkey hunter, and you're not managing for turkeys with chufa, honestly, you're missing out. I mean, right, there's always been a debate on this among big-time turkey hunters and what chufa does for you. And because chufa is not there, and I think this is where the misconception comes from. Chufa is not there in the springtime.
Right.
Right.
It's there in the wintertime, isn't it, in the fall?
It's there in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's there all through the wintertime. It sprouts that grass, that nut grass, comes out of the ground in the summer and late summer and into the fall even, and then that nut grass dies, it withers, turns to brown, and then as it turns to brown, those tubers under the ground get bigger and turn hard, and that's what those turkeys want, but more importantly, what they need through those winter months so that they can keep fat on, and that they can be productive once the spring comes. And the more productive you can make your turkeys, the healthier you can make your turkeys, the better they'll be through breeding season, which is hunting season, the better they'll be in laying season, the better they'll be at producing poults, right? So, I mean, if it's about killing a turkey over a chufa field, you're missing the boat, right? That's not what it's about. If you're about managing for turkeys year-round,
right,
you need choof on your property. That's the bottom line.
Which is the correct way to manage for deer, ducks,
that's
everything.
Right. That's
You don't just manage for season. Unfortunately, in my mindset, because of where I get to hunt, I'm always putting corn out. I'm making sure we got plenty of corn out, blah blah blah, during the season. Yeah. But then I forget about all this other stuff that needs to happen outside of season. This year we're gonna do it. We're gonna make sure we have the food plots and everything. But that's when not only does the work come in, which has to be done, and that you're all out there every weekend at your place, but that's what makes the biggest difference.
It is. You got to put in the time. You got to put in the time if you want to manage it. And there is an excitement, if I can. That's probably not the right word. There is an investment that pays off more so if you are managing your property and producing the quality critters you're wanting to hunt, rather than showing up on somebody else's property, honestly, and shooting it over a pile of corn. I mean, I'm not trying to diminish that. That's great if that's all you have access to. You got a hunting club or a buddy that's got land and that's all you can do. That's great. But there is more of an investment. I don't mean a financial investment. I mean an emotional investment that you put in, to buying the tractor, fixing the tractor, putting diesel fuel in it, buying seed, buying fertilizer, buying lime, disking the ground, pulling up the roots by hand, getting splinters, which I have all over my hands right now, pulling up the roots, tossing those trees in the woods that have been ground up and knocked down, disking new ground, putting lime in the ground, putting fertilizer in the ground, putting seed in the ground, covering it up, and then watching it grow, and then putting a trail camera on that little food plot and watching the deer and the turkeys come to it. That's taken you months to do, but all of a sudden, it all comes together, and there they are. And there's an emotional investment that pays off in huge dividends to breaking new ground. At least for me, I love breaking new ground. It's hard. It stinks. But when it pays off, it's great.
Recently, Senator Goldfinch and myself were introduced to Healthy Cell and their incredible line of products. Stephen started on a regimen of taking Focus and Recall after each daily workout to help his body recover from the physical demand of a workout and to help boost his focus and brain power that he needs on long days on the Senate floor. For myself, the last few years, I've been struggling to get the recommended amount of vitamins and nutrients in my body due to decreased appetite. When I was introduced to Bioactive Multi, I was excited to start a daily regimen that I felt would help my performance both on and off the water and would give me more energy to get through long days and increase my productivity. With Bioactive Multi, I know that I am getting the FDA daily recommended amounts, and with the mixed berry flavor and the ease of swallowing, my body is able to absorb these vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants through the proprietary gel format that Healthy Cell has created. This allows my body to quickly absorb and start using these valuable nutrients to help me get through long, busy days, just like we all go through in our daily lives. Go visit healthycell.com/trilogy and use our promo code TRILOGY, all caps, to receive 20% off of your first order and start living a better life today. For over 8 years, GovWorld Auctions has been solving surplus issues for municipalities and counties in South Carolina and beyond. Their turnkey customer service has made them one of the best in the business here in the U.S., and they are located right here in our home state of South Carolina. If you're looking for tractors, heavy machines, and vehicles, just to name a few, our partners at GovWorld have you covered. The process is simple, and their experts will come to you to inspect, photograph, and video all items before they make them available to everyone in the world for the bidding process. GovWorld online auctions are supported by mailers, emails, and promotion to the biggest buyers in the country, and they get results and the highest dollar possible for your items. Don't go out of state to another auction company. Support business here in South Carolina and let GovWorld get you top dollar for your items and put the money back in your city, municipality, or county. Give GovWorld a call or visit their website govworld.com for more info and to set up a visit with one of their experts to get you in the next auction. Don't let valuable items just sit behind a fence. Give GovWorld a call and start turning them into money today.
Well, Lucas and I were talking about, Wednesday being the first day of turkey season, and I've got somebody that's never killed a turkey that I'm taking, and he's got his uncle who's never killed a turkey that he's taken, and we were kind of dividing up where we wanted to go and who's going to go where and what, and of course, the last time my game cameras were out there, they were on a food plot that we had planted late in the fall, unfortunately, but that we planted. And it was covered in turkeys every day. I think I might have sent you some pictures, but big old long beards and just beautiful toms. And I'm like, oh my gosh, And he has seen one gobbler in a week out there on the whole property. And it always happens. Every year, the week before turkey season, they just go vanish.
Well, so does he have chufa planted on his property?
No.
Not
yet.
That's his issue.
Not yet.
He needs to get it. So what you want?
Well, he listens to you, so you should tell him.
So I have determined, whether believe me or not. Let's just put it that way, okay?
Yep.
I mean, I'm not the turkey doctor, the guy, Michael, whatever his name is. But I know a little bit about turkeys, okay? And what you want, when you're looking at all those trail camera pictures in the fall and in the winter of all those big groups of birds, what you want in the wintertime is you want the big groups of hens. That's what you want. You want the big groups of hens feeding on your chufa plots in the wintertime, going to town, feasting, getting fat. And in the springtime, you'll have the toms.
Yep.
If you have the toms, if you have the big group of gobblers in the wintertime, you'll have the hens, which a gobbler will chase, but you won't have those same gobblers. They move. They have winter ranges and they have springtime ranges. And if you got the gobblers in the wintertime, you're not going to have the big groups of gobblers in the springtime. Even after they split up, they're not going to be there in the masses that they are. They're going to be on the property next door or 2 doors over.
Yep.
I don't know why they do it like that, but I'm telling you, I've just seen it year after year on the properties that we have lots of hens in the winter. We have very few gobblers in the spring. The property you got lots of hens in the winter, you got the gobblers in the spring.
Our conspiracy theory is that everybody around us puts corn out during turkey season. Well, that's our conspiracy theory, but
and I don't think that's a conspiracy theory. If you've got guys that constantly, that are focused on deer hunting, and they keep corn out year round, that's probably true, right? That's probably true. And so you are probably competing with some corn. You're not going to have corn on your property if you're a big turkey hunter in the springtime.
But you did just describe exactly what we had, which was lots of big gobblers in a group together in the winter.
Yeah.
And the hens were few and far between. I'd say most of the groups of birds that I saw in the deer stand the last couple times that I went would have been one big flock of jakes that was probably 18 to 25 birds. And then the other flock, the other group of birds that I saw at one stand was 8 to 10 big toms and a couple jakes.
Yeah.
And they are gone. I mean, literally, I thought about going today and putting the game camera out on the one food plot that we were talking about that I had planted, and just going to put the game camera out there for the next 2 days just to see what's coming in there.
Yeah.
The other thing is, the doggone coyotes. I mean, we had so many coyotes, and I know I'm sure they can make a big difference, but not that big a difference.
I think they kill them pretty good. I think they kill poults really well.
Right, poults, yeah.
Yeah, if you've got a big population of coyotes and a big population of bobcats, you've got a poult problem, right? And, let me back up. If you've got a big population of raccoons and a big population of possums, you got a poult problem, right? Because, the egg eaters are probably worse than anything on turkeys. They just kill them before they become turkeys.
So the coyote, the fox, the possum, and the raccoon are your big four. Is that
a bobcat will kill?
And a bobcat.
Bobcat will wipe out a whole flock of poults.
Really?
Oh, they'll just wipe them out. Yeah, they'll wipe them out. Bobcat is super effective on poults. But I mean, the thing is, if you've got 30 or 40 raccoons, so a lot of those places where the turkeys nest will be the grassy transitions between a field and a swamp, right?
Yep.
If you're on one of those cypress swamps where you've got 30 or 40 raccoons living in that cypress swamp, that's going to cross through the grassy transition in the middle of the night, I mean, one raccoon's going to wipe out a whole turkey nest. I mean, in the blink of an eye, he'll wipe the whole thing out.
Yep.
So, 10, 12 eggs in a turkey nest, those 10 to 12 eggs on average will hatch, half? Out of those half, one will make it to adulthood.
Not crazy.
Right? If a raccoon wipes out the whole entire nest, you get nothing. So people miss that equation, I think, in their turkey management. You've got to knock down the egg eaters before you knock down anything else, really. I mean, your egg eaters need to be knocked down to practically nothing if you are serious about turkey management. And then you got to work on your coyotes and your bobcats and all the other stuff that catch the poults after the fact. But egg eaters, huge. Possums, raccoons, huge. Which, by the way, never going to believe this, there is a skunk living behind my house, coastal South Carolina.
Really?
Never seen one in South Carolina my entire life. I walked out there, I don't know, a half a dozen times in the last month and sworn that I smelled a skunk. And I've only smelled skunks in other places, especially out west, Colorado. You run into them and you smell them all the time, but never smelled one here. I swore I smelled one back there.
It's an easy smell to distinguish.
Oh, yeah, half a dozen times. And this is not somebody growing pot in the woods either, right? I mean, this is
not in that little spot.
Yeah, this is not skunky. This is skunk, right?
Yeah.
And I walked around back there in the woods looking, and I'd be dogged if I did not find a skunk track in the mud back there.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, we've got skunks here too, and armadillos.
Armadillos obviously are making a big
Armadillos are making a big push. They're now pushed on this side of I-95. And so there's a lot of stuff that'll eat a turkey egg. A ground nesting bird is just ripe for being picked off by all the various things we've got running around here. I mean, everything will eat an egg. Everything.
Yep.
Will eat an egg. And so you got to get serious about your egg eaters if you're serious about turkey management.
So one cool thing we did see in Okeechobee, which we had already heard about that was making their move into that area, was the iguanas.
Oh, yeah, that's a big problem.
We pulled into, go to the little Western wear store there and got out the truck and looked down, and there was about a 8 to 10 inch iguana right there, pretty in color. And Russ tried to get over there and go get his picture taken with him, and it wasn't having anything to do with that. But I know iguana hunting with air rifles has become big in Florida.
Yep. Iguanas, and what's the other one? There's a big lizard that is an invasive lizard, and it's come up. They've spotted a couple in South Carolina. I can't remember what they're called.
Oh, I remember hearing about that.
Cajus, something. Anyway. Any kind of ground lizard or arboreal lizard, for that matter, is going to be a problem on eggs too.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff eating eggs, especially the eggs that are from ground nesting birds, quail and turkeys, and they can use all the help they can get. So,
well, break down the turkey season real quick. Let's talk about the first. What's your favorite way to target a turkey, or your favorite tactic or technique that you're going to use starting out early? I mean, here's the thing: we all know birds, they get hunted a bunch. They're smart. They figure it out. They're not going to play the game. What are you going to start? You trying to get that bird off the roost?
Yep. I mean, that's the that's the bottom line is I want to kill the bird. I mean, I'll kill him however, honestly. But for me, the full experience is you hear him gobbling on the roost. He hits the ground. He comes walking and strutting and gobbling along the way. And now, what happens between the time he gets on the ground and gets in front of your face, that's variables, right? But yeah, I mean, if you can hear him in the trees and you can hear him on the ground and he ends up in front of your face, to me, that's the full experience of turkey hunting. As you get a little later in the season, if you're hunting that same group of birds and they've been in decoys that season, and they've heard a lot of calling that season. Sometimes there are more crafty ways to get at them, but honestly, I've killed over 100 turkeys, and I mean of all different species, and I don't have to kill one again ever, really.
Right.
Ever. I love to see other people kill them, but I don't know if I killed one last year. I'm trying to remember if I did. Rick keeps track of these kind of things, and he could tell me whether or not I did. But I mean, if I kill one, it's either because somebody forced me to, or because I made the mistake of counting on somebody else to pull the trigger, and they didn't do.
And they didn't.
They didn't do a good job. But to me, it's about the experience. And if you have to cheat yourself out of the experience, what's the point?
Yep.
And cheating yourself out of the experience might be deer hunting the turkey, right? Ambushing the turkey, whatever. I mean, some people reaping the turkey. You love to reap.
I love to reap.
Yeah,
but I don't like to do it till late in the season. But I do love to reap.
Right.
And mainly it's a time thing, and I say that in the sense that I have to take the kids to school in the morning, and I mean now with work, business, and if I get an hour or two to go, then I want to go ride around, and if I find a couple that might be with one hen, then I'll go try to set up and see if I can't, entice them my way, calling first, and then secondly with obviously that double fan that I use. But I'm like you, though. I'd much rather get them first thing in the morning. Trust me, I just want Tony on Wednesday morning to hear that first gobble back, and I want to hear it come down out the tree. I want to hear it hit the ground. I want it to continue to talk to me, and I'm just hoping that by some act of God that 2 or 3 hens don't get between me and that bird before he gets to me.
Oh, you're taking Tony, the Bassmaster?
Yeah, he's never killed one.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, so we're going to take him, and
are you going to Lucas's?
Yeah, we're going to go to Lucas's.
Oh, good.
And he's super excited. He's
I think I'm hunting with Senator McElveen on Wednesday.
Are you really?
I don't know where we're going or what we're doing. Since I'm going to be at the State House, we're going to go early, try to get back to the State House before we get started. But we're going to go somewhere in his territory in the Midlands and try to find one.
Oh, I'm sure he's got plenty of good hunting spots.
Yeah.
But Tony's excited. He's super excited, and he's like he said, he's like, I don't want you to just go sit me out and go away. Like, I want you to stay there and call because I can't call. And I was like, no, don't worry, I'm staying with you. I might be 20 yards behind you, 20 yards to the left of you, or 30 yards, depending on where the birds are or whatever. But I'm gonna be there. He's like, good, because I want to celebrate with you, and that's the whole thing. Mm-hmm. You and I both know it. I mean, when we took that Army Ranger. I mean, we were both slapping high fives. We may have been a little more excited than he was.
Yeah.
But that's where it is. It's all in that. And if you can fool them and trick them into coming in first thing in the morning, man, it sure does make it nice when you're on the way to the truck at 7:45 or 7:30 instead of having to figure out that next routine like you and I had to do with him. We sat there for 2.5 hours nearly. I mean, I've got video. 2.5 hours we sat there watching all those gobblers in that field. I mean, literally just tons and tons, and could not get them to come away from all those hens.
I don't mind. So I'm more like a 8:30 guy. I mean, if I had to say it all comes together, I'm more like an 8:30 guy, and I'll tell you why. Because I feel like if you set up on him and he flies out the tree in front of you and walks into your decoys and killed it, it's like almost too easy.
You missed the fun.
It's almost too easy, right? I want him to talk to me on the tree. I don't know if I actually want to see him come down, but I want him to talk to me on the ground. I want him to get hung up 2 or 3 times. I want to work through the hang-ups. I want him to jump the fence or fly the swamp or whatever's required. I want to call him off of a hen. I want to work for it a little bit. I want him to be talking. I want him to be interacting. I want him to work for it a little bit. I want to have to move a little bit. I don't want to have to just sit there for 15 minutes and kill him. I want to move a little bit. I want to do some stuff with the interaction and have the full experience. And so I'm more like an 8:30 guy, but like I said, I'll kill them anytime, anyhow, anyway. I love them, And but right off the roost, 8:30 to 9 o'clock in the mornings, I think the perfect experience.
Well, I think, going back to Florida, I was going to tell you that, and Lucas even mentioned it, I think you would be amazed at the difference in Double Diamond versus when y'all hunted there last year. Remember that one area that was open where y'all sat, where Rick actually ended up taking that bird? Well, since they moved the cattle back into all that area back there to feed, it's unbelievable how far you can see now. It's unbelievable how they've cleared it out. It's beautiful. You can see, it looks like the other property that we hunted.
So short grass now, right?
A lot of short grass with the palm stuff in between it, the fans, the hammocks or whatever. But it looks way different. Like I didn't even recognize anywhere.
Did you see any turkeys while you were there?
I missed them because I was busy working with my camera, but we went down the road and Robert stopped and had us pull up beside him. He said, "Did y'all see all the turkeys down that road?" And so they were there. And Robert felt strongly that if I went and sat at a certain spot over on the front property, that he said I should have a good chance at seeing one. But once I had that chance to go on the hog hunt and having the family down there, I couldn't give up the whole afternoon to go do that too. But he said there's a bunch on that front property. But, they've started harvesting the bahia, the sod, off of the front plantation now, selling the sod off of it. And it's really cleaned up. It just like they did at the Double Diamond, but it's really cleaned up, and you could see for miles. I mean, if I'd have gone, I didn't even bring my binoculars, but if I'd have had my binoculars, I'm sure we'd have seen a lot more turkeys than what we actually did see. And then I'm sure the dogs didn't help much once we started running them around Double Diamond. Yeah. But the hogs, like I said, the unbelievable. I mean, literally, we were driving through areas, and I'd go, "Who drove through here in the bulldozer?" And literally, that's what it looked like, and acres of it.
Oh, they make a huge mess.
And they make a terrible mess. And when you're a cattle farmer and they're killing all that area for them to graze on, I mean, there's a strong, need to get rid of and to clean out those hogs. So it was great. But
all right, I want to, before we move on, there's a couple things that have been sort of irritating me in the news lately.
Oh, boy.
I wanted to bring them to your attention and have a little discussion on them.
Yeah, good, because I want to bring up something good. I don't know if this is good or not, but I want to bring up something good, too.
So there's this woman that writes for The Guardian. Her name's Catherine Bennett. And, yep, and she wrote an opinion piece. She's obviously an anti-hunter. She wrote an opinion piece yesterday. Today's Monday. She wrote an opinion piece yesterday. It popped up on my news feed. Why worry about an import ban on hunting trophies when you can bag one at home? And then she goes on to essentially lambast, which for those of you living in Murrells Inlet means beat up on.
Yep.
She goes on to beat up on trophy hunters, and I'd like to read you just a little bit of this if I can.
Is this the young lady that we tried to have on the show?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope, it's not, but I'd love to have her on the show too. Let's see. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because I don't want to read the entire article to you, bore you to death. These trophies being incomprehensibly for anyone whose love of animals does not express itself in killing them, the dead animal's body parts brought home for display or sale. Okay? And what she's talking about this guy. Basically, this guy from England went to Africa, paid a whole bunch of money to hunt all kinds of animals, and is trying to import them home. And she, obviously is in favor of denying him his import permits. The UK Parliament actually had to get involved, and eventually they gave him a permit, and she's upset about it.
Huh.
Okay? So she would prefer, and let me read you this too. A recent U.S. Humane Society investigation at a Safari Club International Convention, which is held in Las Vegas or Reno every year. It's a big, giant convention here.
Right.
A recent U.S. Humane Society investigation, not an unbiased group of people, at a Safari Club International Convention found, for instance, elephant skin luggage sets ranging from $10,000 to $18,000 and jewelry made from leopard claws, $10,000 to $18,000. What is never explained, and what I cannot understand, and what is why, if the hunters are so passionate about animals, they look so exultant after killing them. Okay, so this woman, clearly an anti-hunter, got to say that right off the bat. I get it. I don't necessarily understand it. I get her mentality, okay? She's concerned, she's confused why hunters claim to love the animals and the resources so much but kill them. She just can't get that. She can't seem to understand that. And I'd love to have a conversation like that with this woman, or a woman like that, or a person like that on this show, to have that conversation. Why do you love the animals if you're willing to kill them? I don't know. Why do you love bacon, English, but you like to eat it? I mean, answer me that. Let's start with that.
No, absolutely perfect. You said it exactly right. And the other thing is, so easily these hunters could take their head, take the fur, the cape, whatever, and just leave the rest, do whatever, Instead, they're taking every part of it and doing something with it.
Yeah, but I mean there is. I'm probably going to get myself in trouble here. There is something that a certain group of people have a very hard time overcoming, comprehending, and that is that we have a history. We have canine teeth in our mouth.
Yep.
Touching mine with my tongue right now. I have a canine tooth. So do you. So does every other human being. We have a clear genetic history, undeniable history of being hunters.
Yep.
We are meat eaters. Okay. Shout out to Steve Ranella. We are meat eaters.
Yep.
We have canine teeth. It is in our blood to hunt. It's in our blood to eat meat. Those that deny that are denying our history. They're denying not only our history, but our heritage, our culture. They're denying our biological makeup. It's a lot like saying boys can be girls and girls can be boys.
Be boys.
Right? Because that's just the way you feel.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, there is societal cost to denying our hunting heritage, our hunting culture, and our biological makeup. There are problems coming down the road. And these tortured ideas about how to save animals that don't involve hunting, that don't involve putting value on animals, these tortured ideas that the Humane Society can just say, please send us your donations, please send us thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars or whatever you're willing to give to save the animals without any explanation whatsoever what that means. Tell me how the Humane Society saves an animal, an elephant in Africa.
Yep, they don't.
Tell me how they save a giraffe or a zebra or a lion or any dag-blamed animal in Africa. They don't.
Nope.
Now, the inverse of that, the absolute opposite of that.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me how a hunter who goes to Africa spends $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 hunting there, paying for anti-poaching, paying for lodging, for food, for salaries, for, like I said, anti-poaching units, for professional hunters, how all of that money being spread around, putting a value on the cost of an animal's life. Tell me how that saves animals. When that animal is no longer pursued because he's a menace to society, when that animal now is protected because he's of value to society, that's how you protect animals.
Yep.
It's not even that tortured of an idea. It's not even that complicated of an idea. It is a very simple idea. It's economics. It's economics.
It is.
If you can't understand economics, you need to get out of the saving the animal business because it doesn't work without it.
Nope.
Let me read you one more thing.
Jim Shockey said it best.
Jim Shockey did a great job.
He said it best.
In episode 1, he did a great job. One more here, which I just find really super entertaining. Hungry moose hungry moose thought to be a root cause of climate change. Okay.
Wow.
I'm moving on to the next thing that irritates me. Okay, but this one irritates me. It also gives me a little glimmer of hope. Okay, because there's a crack in the facade of the. Well, let me put it a different way. I love watching this emerging war between climate activists and the Humane Society and animal activists. And it's come up over and over and over again, right? Like nowadays, we had this weird debate. America, climate activists and animal activists had this weird debate over what to do about all the cows and their farting. All right?
Oh, boy.
As ridiculous as that sounds.
Are you kidding me?
No. You haven't been watching this in the news? You haven't seen this in the news?
I have not seen this.
Oh, AOC's all on it right now.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, AOC's all on it right now. Cows being one of the biggest contributors to climate change because of their
Methane.
Yeah, their farts. They're passing gas. And so you've got extreme climate activists calling for, essentially the killing of all cows,
Wow.
which in and of itself would cause a lot of methane gas. But the killing of all cows and the elimination of the eating of meat ultimately, right?
Yep.
But you got, animal activists that, do they really want to go down that path? And now, so you got, you're moving on. They're moving past cows because they can't quite figure out cows create too much of an economic incentive. You can't just kill them all off, or you can't just let them not become hamburgers. So now we're going to move on to the wild animals. The wild animals like moose, I don't know why in the world they pick moose over deer or sheep or anything else, Rocky Mountain bighorn, whatever. You name it. Stag, elk.
But a moose.
We just decided we're going to sample moose and see how that works out, okay? Moose are now responsible for climate change. What are we going to do about all the moose? The moose eat too much of the green shrubs, and they eat too much of the bushes that carbon capture, and so we've got to figure out what to do with moose. And you know what the suggestion was from the climate people?
Let me guess. Kill them all.
The suggestion from the climate people was we need to try to figure out how to expand hunting for moose. And what do you think the Humane Society folks did? Their heads exploded.
Yep.
Right? So, this dichotomy is not
Wow.
where
This is a good battle to watch.
This war between crazy, unrealistic people is entertaining to me. It's a little disheartening, but it's also a little entertaining.
Yeah. So, so this crab thing that we didn't talk about yet, so I wanted to bring up the crab thing.
Yeah.
Because what I was told today on the phone was that the reasoning that they were being told that the crabs population has gone down over the last couple of years is because of climate change.
Yeah, so I'm not sure I've heard anybody say that's the primary reason, but certainly they are saying that is a reason. Blue crab, we're talking about blue crabs.
Blue crabs, yeah.
Yeah, and especially here on the East Coast and in South Carolina. Yeah, warming waters and saltwater intrusion. Of course, you'd think saltwater intrusion because they're very sensitive to salinity.
Right.
You'd think saltwater intrusion into freshwater environments would be better for them. But anyway.
It's not.
Evidently it's not.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there have been some proposed changes for blue crab regulations here in South Carolina, and I'm sure they are doing it. I think I heard they're doing some changes in North Carolina and Georgia as well.
Right. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
But I personally am. I understand like this time of the year. Well, I actually go back. Maybe still now. Obviously, crabbers set their traps all over at the near the saltwater line where they can't set traps, in the freshwater side of it, which is where they would want to this time of the year. But they have to let the crabs give the crabs that area to, to get away and escape. I mean, I would guess that maybe because of climate change, they're saying that, like you said, that salinity level has gone inland further. Is that?
Well, again, if that was the, I'd love for a scientist to explain that to me. But if that was the case, then I think that the crabs would be doing better, right? Because they'd have more. Nobody the salinity level, whatever we call that line of demarcation, everybody knows where they are. They're the bridges for the most part.
Yep.
And the bridge is on 17.
17 here.
Yeah. So you would think that encroaching salinity would be more of a protected area for crabs, but again, what do I know?
So my big thing is, if there is a drop in the numbers of blue crabs here, does it not have anything to do with the fact that we've got 10 times as many commercial crabbers in Murrells Inlet now than we did 5 years ago?
Well, and what's that from, right? Let's dive into that for just a second. So, they terribly mismanaged their fishery in Chesapeake Bay.
Yep.
Just terribly. Everybody saw that coming. They did the same thing with pogies, right? They just about annihilated them. The pogies up there for the fish oil industry. Same thing with crabs. They've just about annihilated their blue crab fishery in Maryland and Virginia. And what happened naturally when that happened? Those crabbers came here.
Yep.
Right? They moved to the next best place.
Yep.
They came here. So now we've got gazillions. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but we've got a lot of Maryland crabbers coming here. And you know what, by the way, again, supply and demand, what happens when there's not a whole lot of supply in Chesapeake Bay area and there's a whole bunch of demand?
They got to go find them.
The prices are sky high.
Yep.
And last year I was hearing rumors of prices in the $400 to $500 a bushel range in Chesapeake Bay.
Wow.
In Maryland and Virginia. And so what happens when bushels are at $400 to $500 for blue crabs and you can't catch them in Chesapeake Bay anymore?
You come down south, get them, and send them back.
Right. And so that's exactly what happened. We had tons of Maryland crabbers move here and set up shop. They've got processing plants and coolers and trucks, and they're running them to Maryland and selling them at $400 a bushel. And as crazy as that is, we don't stop them from doing that.
Nope.
Here in South Carolina, we do not stop them from doing that.
I would guess North Carolina's probably getting it just as bad as far as the crab goes.
Yeah, I would think so too. So here's my thing, Inglis. I
didn't mean to get off your moose story at all, but I thought that when the climate change thing, I wanted to tie them in together, but.
No, it's a great segue into that because I did want to talk about this because it's a little bit irritating as well. But to me, when you are having a crisis especially let's just talk about fishery.
Yep.
Land-based stuff may be a little different, but when you're having a crisis in a fishery, even if it's a so-called crisis, right?
Right.
When you're having a crisis in a fishery, fisheries managers have a knee-jerk reaction to close down the recreational guys first. And I'll tell you why that is. I hope I'm not speaking for them. I am speaking for them. I think their knee-jerk reaction to close down recreational guys first is because they believe that the commercial guys have a fiduciary, pecuniary interest, meaning a livelihood on the
livelihood based on it. Yep.
Right, a livelihood on the line. The problem with that is, let's just talk about the crab fishery. The problem with that is the crab fishery in South Carolina, less than 1% of the catch, right? So, yes, let's close down the recreational crab fishery. That'll take care of less than 1% of the problem.
Yep.
But that's the knee-jerk reaction, I think, is to cut the recreational guys and then not do a whole lot. You just sort of pick around the corners at the commercial guys. Y'all, that's not the way that management should work, wildlife management should work, fisheries management should work. Not at all. Think about what happened 150 years ago with deer. 200 years ago with deer.
Right, when they were gone.
I mean, we talked about this with who did we talk about this with?
We talked about this.
With South Carolina historian
Dr.
Walter Edgar.
Walter. Yep, that's right.
Talked about this with Walter Edgar. You know, the biggest industry in South Carolina 200 years ago
Yep.
was deer pelts, deer skins, and they just about annihilated them. I mean, up until the 60s or 70s, we really didn't have any deer in South Carolina anymore. I mean, it took 100+ years to start getting deer back to the numbers where they were huntable again in South Carolina because they just annihilated them in a commercial way, right? It wasn't the recreational guys that were feeding their family with deer
Nope.
that were annihilated. It was the guy that had a wagon train full of bison skulls or full of white-tailed deer pelts, you know, that annihilated the white-tailed deer and the bison.
Yep.
And, you know, same thing happened with ducks back at the turn of the 20th century. Duck on the menu was very common everywhere up and down the East Coast, especially in New York. It was super common. Canvasback was one of the biggest eaten
That's right.
ducks because they were commercially hunted. They had those giant punt guns.
Punt gun.
If you hadn't ever seen a punt gun, you ought to go Google one. Pretty dang cool.
Yep.
But it almost annihilated the ducks.
Because they would go up to them rafting at night and just,
Yeah, I mean,
what I was told, right? They would
they
float.
fill these guns with all kinds of
Screws,
stuff.
nails,
screws,
everything, yeah.
ball bearings, whatever. It's just
Yep.
a giant cannon. And they would, you know, annihilate entire flocks of ducks for the purpose of selling them on the commercial market. So what did we do? We banned the commercial market for ducks. We banned the commercial market for deer. We banned the commercial market for bison. And all those things have made incredible comebacks. What have we done on the fishery side? We've doubled down. I mean, really, we have doubled down. And look, this is coming from a guy that has spent some time commercial fishing.
Commercial fishing, yeah.
Right. So I'm just telling you, the way we manage land-based animals, let's call it the North American model for conservation, it works. Like, it works super well. It's a recreational-based model, and it just works, okay? We've completely banned commercial hunting.
Yep.
Because it works. What have we done on the commercial fishing side?
Nothing. We leave. We don't touch them.
Right. And I mean, maybe we need to take shrimp out of the equation. Maybe we need to take crabs out of the equation. I know we're talking about crabs here.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as fin fish go, what's the natural tendency of the South Atlantic Fisheries Management Council on red snapper?
Recreational, you're shut off.
Right.
Commercial, you can still have 200 pounds a trip or whatever.
Yeah, 100,000 gross gross tonnage a year. I
Yep.
mean, you got an annual catch limit of whatever, hundreds of thousands of pounds in the South Atlantic for red snapper. But how many does the recreational guy get?
Not much.
He gets one fish in one weekend that's usually too windy to go fishing.
Yep.
If even that. And it's like you got to beg for that weekend, right?
Yep.
You got to beg for that recreational snapper season weekend, and it's going to be right in the middle of the freaking windy season.
That's right.
Right in the middle of it. I haven't been, legally, recreationally fishing for fishing for red snapper since, I think, 2007.
Yeah, it's blown every time.
I mean, it has just been ridiculous. There's been one or two weekends in the last 10 years where it hasn't blown, and people go, and that's the other thing. People, because it blows so much and because you only get one weekend, people will take a 20-foot boat offshore in the middle.
And go push the envelope.
Push the envelope in 4 to 5 foot seas because they want to go catch that red snapper. And that's just ridiculous.
Man, I tell you, it's the truth, but I wish South Carolina could. I know y'all have, your bill and they got through was great, but it sure would be nice to have all that little bit deeper water opened up for at least one fish, or even SAFMC open up one fish per boat or two fish per boat a trip. I mean, unfortunately, we still know how many fish are getting released dead.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're married to this idea of of federal oversight
Oversight.
of our fisheries, and they know best, right? Federal government knows best, and it's killing us. It's absolutely killing us here.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, we're winding down here because I really have a hot topic that I want to talk about. I'm going to save it for the next show, but I did want to talk about some of the local captains here who are going to be proactive and really have been vocal in the fact that they are going to try. They're not going to try. I mean, let me rephrase this. They're going to educate their clients this year on conservation, and in doing so, they're going to try to harvest enough fish to stock the refrigerator and not stock the freezer. And in doing so, they want to educate why. And kudos off to them. My hat's off to these guys. And next week we'll try and get one or two of them on to talk about why they decided to do this. But I had them on the radio show Saturday, and it was really fun to listen to their thoughts on it. And it's time for us to do it, just like the red snapper fishery. Had we all taken a proactive approach to, maybe trying to regulate it ourselves or doing something a while back, maybe it wouldn't be so regulated now. But they don't want to see other species go through that. So, maybe we start off and it's like a snowball. Maybe we start off here locally and these captains, and then they share it, and then the guys in Charleston fall in behind, which they already do. David Plaid with Eye Strike Jigs and the 21 and over, release 21 and over, that has gotten huge with trout and flounder.
Yeah.
But they're gonna try and push it on, with all their charters, no matter what the species are here. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about it and seeing, exactly what the reception is from the clients, because there are those clients that come with the 65 quart cooler and expect to leave a 4-hour half-day charter with it full of fish to take home, and they get freezer burnt.
Yeah, oh yeah, no doubt about it.
The fish gets freezer burnt. So
most of it gets thrown away.
One last thing, training last week. You were gone last week, right?
I was, yeah. I was in Virginia with the Army last week and back, and right back to the grind.
I was gonna ask you a little bit about that training, but we don't want to talk about that.
We'll do it off air. I got to pee.
You got to pee? All right. Well, look, that's time. It's time to get out. Hey, that's a perfect segue to get out of here. Well, I'll tell you what, folks, we're going to be. You need to go check out. By the way, I meant to tell you. So we had a 2.2 pound brim weighed in yesterday.
That's a hammer.
2.2 pound brim weighed in yesterday for the Grand Strand Fishing Rodeo. Hey, you can still beat it. And if you don't beat it this month, remember, it's a monthly competition. Every single month restarts. You can go in and qualify for all the grand prizes and everything else just by winning one species a month. So you got plenty of time left. Go to TrilogyOutdoorsMedia.com. Click on the rodeo logo and make sure you get signed up. And don't forget the Grand Strand. Hang on. Let's see. We got the Southern Anglers Radio Show. Don't forget that one on Saturday mornings on the Gator 107.9. 8 to 10. You can listen to us on the iHeart app, or you can download. I think we're on something else too. What are we on? We're on iHeart and Gator 107.9. .com. You can listen to us live there. And Trilogy Outdoors magazine is out in the racks, and go grab it. We got some great stories this month, especially our cover story talking about turkey hunting for 2023. So go grab it. And happy 52 there, Senator.
Yeah.
We'll let you get to the bathroom, and hope you have a great week up there in the State House and in the field. Best of luck to you, and I hope I have a story to tell about Tony's first turkey next week myself. But
looking forward to it.
It's been a great show. Thanks for listening. Make sure you click like, subscribe, big thumbs up, share it with all your friends, and next week we'll be back talking more. Where's that coming from? Talking more. It's this Bang drink I'm drinking over here. We'll be talking more fins, fur, and feathers here on Trilogy Outdoors Podcast.
Trilogy Outdoors is produced and edited by Trilogy Outdoors Media. Be sure to follow us on all the podcast platforms as well as our social media pages on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And also don't forget our other brands, Southern English Radio Show and Walk 'Em All Outdoor Magazine. To find more information, visit TrilogyOutdoorsMedia.com. And remember, if it's anything dealing with fins, fur, and feathers, you're going to find it right here on Trilogy Outdoors.